the 2021 general fund budget and levy information and approval of the capital improvement funds, special revenue funds, enterprise fund, and the fire department JPA. So before let's get started on just a recap of the tax levy information. Before setting the actual levy, remember the City Council and staff must estimate the expected city expenditures for the next calendar year. This is done through the preparation of the city budget, which begins in June of each year. After taking into consideration all the anticipated non-property tax revenues, including state aid, the city subtracts the anticipated expenditures from the projected revenues, resulting in a substantial amount of money that the city will need to raise through the property tax levy. In 21, the property tax levy, including the debt levy and the economic development levy, is $4.8 million, with the general fund budget at $5.6. When reviewing the proposed 21 tax levy of $4 million, you'll see 3% is allocated towards the Big Lake Economic Development Authority, 24% for the debt service, and the remaining 73% is the general levy. Remember, the general levy are the funds needed to balance the budget in order to provide the service to the city. The chart represents the breakdown of the levy information. So $3.5 million is the general fund, and then the remainder is for the debt service funds. So the total levy by year from 2015 through 2021, the total levy for the city has increased on an average of about 4% per year. As you can see, the general fund levy, the blue line or the blue bars, these are the funds used to provide the services to the taxpayers, has increased since 2015. This increase reflects the population increase of 13% and just the normal inflationary increase of about 1% per year. The debt service levy, which is the red, decreased since 2015 by 21%. This reflects the decrease in the city's debt overall. Remember, local governments do not directly set a tax rate, but instead the tax rate is a function of the levy and the local tax base. The tax rate is calculated based on the total levy funds needed to cover city services and then divided by the city's net tax capacity for the year. For 21, even though the total levy increased by $256,000, the city's tax rate will decrease by 89% to 49.73. Recapping the estimate property tax rates compared to 2020, the total local tax rate is going down approximately 6.83%. The allocation between tax and authority is similar to 21 as it was in 20. So 32 cents is for city services, 38 for the school district, and 30 for Sherburne County. Now let's now that the proposed levy has been discussed, let's review the general fund budget and all other budgets for 21. So where does the money come from? In order to balance the city budget, the city must levy a considerable amount of funds. Currently, 60% of all revenues received that are used to provide city services come from property taxes. This is consistent through the prior years. The city is also budgeting a transfer of $450,000 from the liquor store. These funds are used to help support city services as well as future projects. Thank you to all who support the city liquor store, as without that support, the city would not be able to budget this transfer. For 21's proposed general fund revenue budget of $5.6 million, the significant increases are taxes due to the increase in the levy amount and changes for services. This category takes into consideration additional services for fire inspection in the event that the city does move in that direction. So what is the money spent on? Since the city's main objective is to provide services for those in the city, it is expected that the majority of the budget would be allocated to personnel. For the proposed 21 budget, 64% is allocated to personnel. This is consistent with prior years. What services are provided? For the 21 budget, the following allocation is as follows. 50% for public safety, which includes our police, our fire and building division. This maintains the safety of our community. 15% is for general government. This is for general service and administration of the city. 12% is for the culture. This includes parks and libraries and community events. This promotes the quality of life. 15% for our public works, which maintains the infrastructures of the community. 6% are transfers, which are used for future projects or equipment. And 2% is for EDA, which is used to promote Big Lake. As shown in this chart, the allocation for 21's general fund budgets are consistent with prior year budgets. Public safety, the red portion of the bar chart, which is very important to the community, is normally around 50% of the total budget. And again, this includes our police, our fire, and our building division. With the 21 general fund budget, the unassigned fund balance is projected to be 58%, which is in line with the city policy of maintaining 50%. This is because, again, the city only receives the tax revenues in June and December, and again, the tax revenues are 60% of all revenues received in order to provide city services. For the proposed 21 general fund budget, the overall increase is $199,000, with the main increase stemming from personnel, operational, and professional. So with personnel, there is a market rate increase to the pay scale of 1.8%. There are step increases to employees with positive performance review that are not at the top of the steps, our pay grade. There's increases in insurance rates. There's a potential increase of staff in public works and the community development department. For professional services, there is increase in engineering consultant as well as audit consultants, because we will have to have a single audit for the CARES funds that were received this year. Operational expense, there's an increase for cost and general liability insurance, contracted services, and then an increase in the rate for the city's charges that the city pays for their use of water and sewer. The capital improvement funds for the governmental activities for 21 is at $828,000, and that's allocated for current and future projects, with all of the $756,000 that the city is projected to receive from local government aid to help support those projects. Just a quick look at our local government aid allocation and projects for 21 through 25. Staff continues to plan for the future in a very conservative method. For 21, the local projection of LGA, as I stated, is supposed to be $756,000 and has been allocated to projects and equipment. Looking at the capital improvement plan, it also indicates that the LGA funds will be used for the capital improvement items. However, we do not receive payment until July, and then the remaining 50% in December. And that's why any item or purchase over $50,000 needs to wait until December, so that in the event the state holds the allocation, there would not be a shortfall in these funds. Another point of interest is that the park dedication is not actually funded, so those items will be moved until there are actual funds to be able to pay for the project, but the projects remain in the summary so that staff and council do not lose sight of the needs. The Big Lake Economic Development's levy is $130,000 with a total budget of $146,000. Again, BLEDA will be transferring funds to our Industrial Park Expansion Fund to be applied to the 21 special assessment affiliated with those parcels. Farmers Market has grown over the past years, but needs to continue to grow in order to support the operation. For 21, 50% of the recreational coordinator's wages and fringe is allocated to the farmers market budget. For the water fund, with the proposed 21 rate increase of 3%, this fund will have a budgeted loss of $162,000. This loss includes depreciation expense. Without depreciation expense, but including the principal debt payment of $816,000, this fund is projected to have a loss of $45,000, and it covers approximately 83% of the depreciation. This fund is also budgeted for the water access charges in the operating fund, but staff's goal is to eventually budget for those revenues in the water CIP fund. If we look at our sewer fund with the proposed 21 rate increase of 1%, This fund will have a budgeted loss of $190,000. This includes depreciation expense of $1.4 million. Without the depreciation expense, but including the principal debt payments of $1.1 million, this fund is projected to have a net profit of $97,000, and around 89% of the depreciation is being covered. In addition, this fund does not budget any sewer access charges. Instead, those revenues are recorded in the sewer CIP fund for future expansions. For the storm sewer fund, with the proposed 21 rates staying the same, this fund will have is budgeted for a loss of $206,000. This includes the depreciation expense of $227,000. So without depreciation, the fund would have a projected profit of $20,000. For the 21 proposed budget for the liquor store, including a $450,000 transfer to the general fund, as well as a $75,000 transfer to the liquor store CIP fund, has a budgeted net loss of $57,000. Now remember, this loss includes the depreciation expense of $74,000. So without the depreciation expense, but including the principal debt payment of $79,000, this fund is projected to still have a loss of $62,000, but if we back out the transfers, then it would have a net profit of $467,000. Gross profit is projected at 28%, net profit before transfers at 10%, and this is consistent with prior years' budgets. As I stated earlier, the market rate adjustment to the 21 pay scale, and we have 9 steps and 22 grades, is at a 1.8%. If we look for the Big Lake Fire Department Joint Powers Agreement, the total amount that is budgeted in the general fund is $184,000, and this is for fire protection services. However, the general fund expenditure budget also includes the total projected costs in wages and fringe of the potentially new position in the amount of like $132,000, with an additional $100,000 that's a pass-through to the Fire Relief Association for the pension expense. The general fund revenue budget takes into consideration the township's contribution to this new position, as well as revenue from the fire inspection and the pass-through revenue that's received for the Fire Relief Association's pension expense. The fire department's market rate adjustment for 21 is 2.5%. So finally, when we look at the return on taxpayers' investment, the average taxpayer is paying around $1.23 a day to maintain the safety of our cities. 40 cents a day allows us to have a wonderful quality of life with the parks and lakes that we enjoy, and 31 cents a day covers the cost of maintaining infrastructure of the city by our wonderful public works staff. If anyone watching or attending needs additional information, please contact the following. For property values, please contact Sherburne County Assessor's Office. For the overall tax statement, Sherburne County Auditors. And any information regarding the city budgets or city finances, please contact myself. Again, my name is Deb. My number is 763-251-2974. Thank you.